Hello, everybody.
Howdy! And for us Americans, happy Labor Day.
Yeah, everybody's got Labor Day off except for us. We have to work.
Yes. And you would think that since today's Labor Day, I would be really happy about that, not having to go to work for the first time in 12 years. Because, when you work on a bird farm, they don't know what a holiday is, so you still have to work. But this year, we all took it off because we're just about done with tearing down the farm. But you know what I discovered this morning that really made me happy?
What's that?
Opening up a fresh pack of toilet paper and finding a roll that's a full 4 inches.
Only you would notice that they've cut down the size of the toilet paper.
Trust me, I'm not the only one. And I want to give a special thanks or a thanks to all you people that have been leaving us emails regarding the video.
Comments?
Yes, regarding the video I did, Why Didn't Jehovah See This? Discussing the female anatomy and those women that were murdered because of men's ignorance. Not the source of life. Make no mistake about it. It's not the ignorance, the source of life. It's a reflection of men's ignorance. So thank you guys for those encouraging comments and the emails that we've been receiving regarding that video.
My goodness. My goodness. And like I keep saying, we have the best viewers ever. And thank you so much, everybody, for sending the links and the research and the information. And I want to thank Chris so much because they seen the video we did the other day about Uganda. And well, I'm just going to read Chris's email here. Watched your latest video where you mentioned the legal battle in Uganda. Some years ago in 2017, there was also a legal battle in Namibia about the status of the people who are serving in the local branch office, Bethel, employees or not. It was about the Social Security of the members. Please see below the short version of the outcoming of this court case. And thank you so much for the court documents, because you can't argue with actual court documents.
That's right.
Now I'm going to put the link down below to the actual Namibia court documents that you can go get. And yes, they are in English. Well, they lost the case. Now they have to pay for their members' social taxes. Guess they are not happy with it. Cash flow in the wrong direction is what Watchtower does not like it at all. As an appendix, you will find the verdict as PDF. It has 27 pages.
Now, I do know from other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses in this community, we're all finding something that's really going to hurt Watchtower. In Africa, they've already done it. I do know here in the United States there are a small group of us looking to do the same thing in the United States. When we do this and make a presentation to congressmen and to the Social Security offices, we also need to use these cases. I know they're not in the United States, but in Africa they are going to, I don't know, maybe take an extraordinary effort to really qualify what an employee or employer is. And we might want to use these when we present our information to these officials here in the United States, because the Watchtower Bible Tract Society is a employer.
Yeah, and that's what this court found. Okay, so I'm going to read Chris's notes here. The Jehovah's Witnesses cannot pick and choose which laws should apply to them and which not. And that's exactly what we have been saying. Our Gillies video from like a week ago, he said that the Australian redress does not apply to them. Well, yes it does. If you have child abuse victims in your organization, it applies to you. Oh, I'm so sick of these arrogant organizations
Arrogant Bible thumpers.
Yeah.
Because that's what they are.
The labor court found an employment relationship evident between the parties for the reasons stated above. And this is the summary of the court case, and it's a Jehovah's Witnesses versus the Social Security Commission. The labor court has jurisdiction to hear the case as to whether Jehovah's Witnesses are or are not an employer to the members of the worldwide order of full-time servants of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, you know, we just mentioned that vow of poverty and this religious order. We just did a video about that. And that's what these employees, these slaves, fall under. The Jehovah's Witnesses' appeal was not found to be proper, and on that fact alone was dismissed. However, the court decided to hear the case all the same, as it was not dismissed, to determine if the Jehovah's Witness arguments were valid. The SSC believed that the Jehovah's Witness failure to contribute towards the various funds to support employees who got sick, pregnant, or died showed an intentional disregard for the law which aimed to protect these exact members who they said had a desire to follow in such a flippant relationship. Now I'm going to read something from the actual court documents here that I found interesting. The members of the worldwide order of full-time servants of Jehovah's Witnesses do perform services or duties for the Jehovah's Witnesses which remain integral to the business of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and although this was a church being dealt with, they could not simply disregard the law or be automatically exempted due to their religious work. The Jehovah's Witness representative argued that the Jehovah's Witness members' stipend allowance could not be equated to any compensation received in kind for their services rendered. The SSC, on the other hand, held the view that each member receives 940 Nigerian dollars per month. And I did the conversion, and it was approximately $64 per month. So they get more than the Uganda. Of course, that was like 10 years.
Yeah, that's what we have to recognize. And if it was a little misleading, the Uganda case was in 2008.
2009, I think, is when the final judgment came through.
But see, we have to remember that in Africa, all of these different countries, states, if you will, they're all approaching the Watchtower Bible Tract Society from the same perspective, that they are a employer. So when the Jehovah's Witnesses are trying to tell, or at least your governing body are trying to tell the rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses that, oh, there's a lot of growth in these third world countries. Well, you can forget Africa, because Africa is using the SSC laws to make Watchtower pay SSC.
Yeah, the Social Security.
Which is Social Security.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I just want to mention something else, too. I actually had a Skype interview with a journalist from NBC News in Los Angeles last night. And she was asking, well, do you have any documents for, Watchtower is a tax-exempt, charity, we should be able to get their tax forms. And I was explaining to her that, no, we cannot, because they're actually listed as a business, a private business, not a religious tax-exempt corporation. So there's a difference, because private corporations, you do not have access to their, tax forms and tax returns. So anyway, going on with the summary here, which is paid at the end of the month in addition to full board and lodging. The court agreed with the view of the SSC in that this allowance is paid by the Jehovah's Witnesses complies with the definition under Section 1 of the Labor Act. In other words, they were being compensated for services rendered.
Right.
Now, here in the United States, even servers in restaurants have to claim their tips.
That's right.
There's lines right on your tax forms where you have to, they want you to claim even your tips.
Right.
If your boss pays for anything, they have lines for that on your tax return also. They want you to claim it.
Per diems and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. In other words, they are being compensated for services rendered. The court held the view that Jehovah's Witnesses, through its conduct, simply wished to evade the law, and the court moved to protect the members blinded by the arguments put forth by the religion. So the government is actually protecting the Bethel workers, the rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses slaving away. So Jehovah's Witnesses won't look at it that way.
Right.
They'll say, oh, big, bad, evil, Satan's organization, Satan's government is coming after Jehovah's Witnesses. No. The government was trying to protect these workers so that, Social Security. And so you have something to fall back on in case you can't slave away for a watchtower, or they kick you and eject you out and say, send you home, you're done.
That's right.
So the Social Security Act does not empower the SSC to exempt certain entities from paying the prescribed contributions, nor does the Act allow for deregistration. The SSC examined the Jehovah's Witness reasoning as a ploy to try and evade their obligations under the Social Security Act.
That's typical of Watchtower.
Oh, yeah. The Jehovah's Witnesses failed to submit to the court why it registered itself as an employer in the first instance, and why, after a lengthy period of time, considered itself not to be an employer for purposes of the Social Security Act anymore. Now, I want to mention that when I was getting some documents together this morning for that reporter, I just happened to come across the JW Congregation Support and some other documents of their numerous corporations. Now, like the Kingdom Hall Trust and some of these others, they actually have a federal employer number. Right. So if you have an employer number, that means you have employees. So here in the United States, if they have this employer number, well, there you go. They're admitting they're an employer.
That's right.
Just another way to make their lives miserable.
Religion. It's a snare and a racket.
Yeah. The court agreed with the SSC's submission that the Jehovah's Witnesses was trying to evade its obligations under the SS Act, and the labor court could not allow the Jehovah's Witnesses employees to be unprotected in the event they fall ill, become pregnant, or die. The SSC articulated that the Jehovah's Witnesses is a registered Section 21 company and accordingly is incorporated under the laws of Namibia and should not be afforded a get-out-of-jail-free card just because it is doing the work of God. The Jehovah's Witnesses cannot pick and choose which laws should apply to them and which not. Now, I just have a couple of pages here from the actual court document. Comment before I start reading these?
Nope. It's just, it's typical of Watchtower.
Yeah.
Very, very typical, because again, I cannot get out of my mind, religion is a snare and a racket. And this is a racket that they're doing. They used to be publishing books with free labor. And the thing is everybody that's gone to Bethel, you've been trained to do your job. You just didn't walk in there and miraculously Jehovah dumped a download of information in your head on how to use the printing presses. You had to be trained, and that's what an employer does. It trains you to do a job. When you are doing a job, you are an employee, especially when they are making millions upon millions of dollars. I mean, even when we were all going from door to door, peddling that little 25-cent blue book, The Truth That Leads to Eternal Life, You Jehovah's Witnesses, you Bethelites working at Watchtower at that time, can't even begin to conceive the millions of dollars they made peddling the Truth Book. I mean, think about how many copies of the Truth Book had to be pushed worldwide at 25 cents a copy to make the Guinness World Book of Records right next to the Holy Bible itself. Think about it. And it was all done with free labor.
Exactly. All right, so this is from page 13 of those court documents. Right at the top, point number 37. The common law describes an employee as locatio de conductio operanium. Accordingly, Parker, in his book, Labor Law in Namibia, sums up the position of an employee in the common law accurately by stating that the servant in a contract of service is under the orders of the master to render his personal service upon the master's personal command. The service that is to be rendered is therefore subject to the orders and decisions of the master.
And that law still applies even here in the United States. I shouldn't say law, but that definition of law.
Exactly. Employer, servant, it all, master, it all means the same. And the servant is subordinate to the disposition of the master. He is therefore obliged to obey the lawful commands or instructions of the master, who has the right of supervising and controlling him by prescribing to him what work he has to do, as well as the manner in which it has to be done. Point number 38. These laws all share common features, namely, an employee is someone who renders a service to another, and such service rendered assist such person or entity in conducting or carrying on his, her, its business for the stipulated or agreed remuneration. Now, over on page 15, point 50, section 1 of the Affirmative Action Employment Act defines an employer as defined in Section 1 of the Labor Act 1992. So under that point 50, there's a sub number B. This would be any person, including the state, who permits an individual to assist him or her in any manner in the carrying on or conducting of his or her business. See, and that's what Bethel workers do. They're helping Watchtower Corporation carry out or conduct their business.
And and the business is selling God. And now it's selling real estate while pretending to working for God.
Yeah. Now remember the vow of poverty and obedience that we read just the other day in that other video we did. Here on page 17, point number 58. In the circumstances of this case, a contract of employment will have to be proven to exist between the appellant as well as the members of the order. It is common cause between the parties that the respondent and its members never entered into written contracts of employment. The members of the appellant do, however, complete an application form to become a member of the order in order to serve God in a full-time capacity. So the minute they sign that vow of poverty and those, application forms and all of that, guess what? Boom, you're an employee.
At least in Namibia, you are.
Yeah. Once an applicant is accepted as part of the order, he or she will need to take a vow of obedience and poverty for one serving as a regular member of the worldwide order of special full-time servants of Jehovah's Witnesses, thereafter referred to as the vow. Number 59. This vow is merely indicative of the member accepting that he or she is prepared to live a modest lifestyle as traditionally established by the order, as well as performing any task designated to him or her by the order. The master. In addition, the vow makes provision that a member should abstain from gaining outside employment, and any remuneration received should be given to the local organization of the order. The vow therefore results in a rule book by which the member lives his or her life. And that's what we read in that vow.
That's right.
Okay? Point number 60. The appellants argue on this point that by reading the memorandum of association as well as the articles of association of the appellant, one can draw the conclusion that the appellant is not a business in the ordinary sense of the word, but rather concerns itself with the teachings and preaching of Jehovah Jesus Christ. Further, to that extent, being part of this order is considered a desire to serve God and not for gaining a monetary reward. Well, it doesn't matter. An employee,
Right.
they go to Bethel, they're not trying to get a monetary reward anyway. They're trying to get brownie points or treasure stored up in heaven. So that's their payment that they're working for.
Yeah, well, it's good to know that Watchtower lost.
Yeah.
It's good to know that Watchtower lost. Once again, these guys seem to think they can get away with, using the title, "In the Name of God." It don't work no more, friends. It just don't work. Not this day and age. I mean, in all honesty, Jehovah's Witnesses could learn from the Mormons, because Kim and I know, we did a video on this, that when you go and clean a Mormon church, you get paid an hourly wage.
Yeah.
You get paid to clean the Mormon church. But Watchtower, oh no. In the name of God,
Yeah.
you do it for free. What a snare and a racket.
Yeah. So I'm sure those that work at the Mormon headquarters doing all of this work and producing all of their books and keeping up their website and stuff, I'm sure they're paid.
They're getting paid a wage.
Yeah. Contractors building their temples and all their other churches, they get paid.
So Watchtower could learn a lesson.
Yeah.
But there again, when you misuse the words in the Bible, you try to apply old archaic way of doing things, slavery. It's all got to go. It's got to be flushed down the toilet, and I'll even donate some of the toilet paper for it.
Yeah. So once again, thank you so much, everybody. And I'm going to put the link down below also. Apparently a Kingdom Hall in New Zealand, in the Christchurch area, was burnt down, and it looks like it was burnt down to the ground. So I don't know if they still do self-insurance on Kingdom Halls or if they have regular insurance. I don't know at this point,
Well, all they got to do is say, "Brothers and sisters, we need you to donate so that we can replace one of Jehovah's houses." And the Jehovah's Witnesses will open up their purses and not even think twice about not donating to build a new Kingdom Hall to Jehovah.
Yeah.
They won't think twice, because that's...
All they have to say is, we can't afford insurance for all of our Kingdom Halls.
It's a snare and a racket.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So thank you, everybody, for watching, and we hope you have a wonderful week.
Bye.
Bye.